Okay.
Okay, so you've probably noticed Clark and I have both made videos for YouTube before. So, and this website, I don't know, are you going to double post on yours? Let's double post.
I can do that.
Or put a link. But sure. On mine, it's mainly about, the channel was started as a suicide prevention, but we're kind of diverging from that and going over to the whole gay marriage thing because it's affecting a lot of people. And I've even online emailed people back and forth out west who have told me that this has really become very divisive, and put them even in at a point of crisis that is even more heightened than they were at before. Because it's really coming out with their families, and so I don't see how there's...
It's divisive also not just for the gay people, but for straight people who don't feel that it's the right move for the church to become so politically involved. Do you know?
Yeah.
It's divisive between normal members of the church who aren't in any way dealing with this issue. So...
Yeah. Like, I think it's a very, very important issue. It's so important that we can't talk about it. Like, I could not talk about this directly with my family. They would just get... Well, some of them I could.
Right.
Some of them I could not. If I were to talk to my parents about this, I think they would just...
They'd be like, "Why are you being so political with me?"
They would get edgy and no, I can't talk about this, and why? It's just... You can't talk about issues? Anyway, I don't know. It's an issue, it's real, let's talk. Anyway, so I made a list of little things that I was thinking about last night when I was thinking about what because I was emailing my sister. This is also.
Okay.
I was emailing my sister on Facebook, you know, and not like privately, on the wall.
Oh, wow.
And somebody else was telling me they were doing this too. Because you start out just like doing little comments.
Hey, what's up?
And then you start responding back and forth, and then it starts getting, you know...
A little...
Like, more personal, intimate, and then you're like, we're doing this on our wall? Okay, so anyway. So I was going back and forth with my sister and you know, posting videos, you know, that are, you know...
just different videos that relate to this topic.
Yeah. And, you know, she started sending me these emails like, well, did you know this and did you know that? Like, things that obviously somebody had been telling her, like, this bad information.
Right.
And so I started emailing back, well, you know that's not true, and you know that's, somebody's, you know, giving you bad information.
But then there's a lot of fear tactics
and then she
running around.
You know, no responses. And I emailed no responses, and I called no response. So I'm like, really?
Well, because it's like, bam, door closed. You know what I mean? Because you sort of exposed the untruths that she'd been fed, and she was like, didn't have a response. She still wants to...
But the funny thing is, also, what I was telling you before is, like, we're good friends.
Right.
Like, what does this have to do with anything?
Right.
I mean, it's important, but...
But it shouldn't...
It's still... I don't know, it's just an issue. Anyway.
Yeah. It's an issue, and we can talk about it.
Yeah, to get upset about. It's... whatever. So anyway, just emailing some people back and forth, it's funny when people who are maybe not from California or who are in the Northwest or whatever, I'm emailing, and they have all these preconceived notions or ideas about what the whole thing's about. Like, one of the things is that they say, we don't want to give gays the right to marry in California.
Right.
Which they already have the right. That's like one thing. Okay, that's what the vote is about, is to take away the rights. And also it's to give a legal status. I also wanted to talk about the difference between just people getting married and having it legally endorsed as marriage by the government.
Right.
Here's the first thing. Gay marriage has been going on forever.
Totally.
It will keep going on. There are thousands and thousands of people, gay people get married all the time. And because marriage is a spiritual thing. And it's like a religious thing, or it's just, it doesn't even have to be religious or spiritual. It can just be
personal,
a personal thing. But you can't stop marriage. People will always get married. They'll do it.
They will, whether it's in this country, this state, that country, here, that people are just going to do it. Exactly.
Right, even if you made it illegal, even if you made it a crime and you were going to throw people in jail if they got married, blah, blah, people would still get married.
Right.
Romeo and Juliet weren't going to stop whatever they were going to do. They would go secretly get married.
Right.
No matter what anybody thought.
Mm-hmm.
No matter the obstacles that you put up in front of them. But this, the only difference is this is giving people equal rights under the law. Legally giving everybody the same legal rights.
Right.
And so it really has no effect on whether people get married or not.
Because they're going to do it.
Right.
Regardless.
It's just people want equal rights.
Well, right.
And treated the same under the law.
But what's interesting is I think that the response would be that if the government sanctions this, then that somehow puts it in a moral, it's okay to do it. And I think the people who want gay marriage to be now taken away from California, they're like, well, we don't want the government to say it's okay because it's not. Because what it comes down to, no matter what arguments they'll use, is that they think it's sinful. Like that, I mean, and that's kind of...
Which is a religious idea.
That's a religious idea, and that's where the real disconnect is. That's where it's really difficult to take two people who disagree on this topic. Because, I've heard a lot of people make non-religious arguments about why gay marriage is a bad idea, etc., etc. But the truth is, if you really boil down any argument against gay marriage, it'll eventually get to, I think it's wrong.
Right.
I think it's wrong for two men to be together, basically.
Right.
And, they can be together. I'm not prejudiced. I have tons of gay friends, we paint, toy soldiers together, whatever. And, but the problem is that, at the end of the day, they think it's wrong for gay men to be together. And they're not going to say they want to take away the right, because, people have free agency. But God forbid the government should sanction it, because that tells young children that it's okay to get married. Which, God forbid, a young gay boy in 2nd grade thinks it's okay for him to,
have everything
everyone else has. And God forbid he should feel like he doesn't have to be forced to marry a woman and bring himself and her into a situation that neither of them is really that equipped to handle with necessarily. I don't know. I mean, you can start picturing your life in a more peaceful way instead of having all this turmoil, which I think you and I both grew up with.
But ultimately, yeah, it's a separation of, if you do believe in a separation of church and state. If you don't, I'm scared, because as soon as you start forcing people or legislating religion into other people's lives, then that's scary, because sooner or later it's going to come back to get you.
Exactly.
Sooner or later, if you start making it okay to put in religious doctrine into laws, then you end up with a Middle Eastern state.
Well, precisely. For instance, in California, LDS people have enough. The Mormons largely settled great expanses of the West, and LDS people have the numbers in California to really make an impact on this vote. But if this vote was happening in New Jersey or Connecticut or anywhere else where the Mormons did not settle, then they're just not going to have, you're not going to have those numbers. And then what if another group that is in the majority decides that your religion is totally unacceptable, that your temple marriages are wrong? And if you're going to, you have to see it both ways. You have to say, would I be okay if someone was taking away my right to marry, and the person I want to marry, the place I want to marry them, and how I want to marry them? You have to realize that you might be in the majority there where you are in this particular Proposition 8, and in 102 in Arizona, you might also have the numbers, but you're not going to have the numbers in other places. And are you really okay setting this precedent?
Right, you're setting up a system that's going to work against you later.
And again, I don't want to be part of fear tactics, because I think that it's really wrong to use dishonesty or even to use honesty to scare people into doing things. I would just like you to think ahead and think where this could go. And, the whole thing with gay marriage, the non-religious arguments are, well, we just don't know where this will lead. Like, will, a person be able to marry a cat after this? Or will a man be able to marry 4 women? And will 3 men be able to get married? Where is this going to go? No one knows where anything's going to go. This is complicated. Government, politics, civil rights, it's messy. It always is going to be messy. What we have to do is we have to use our conscience, and we have to go forward, and we have to try to understand one another. And again, like you were saying, make a commitment that it's okay to talk about these difficult issues.